Welcome, everyone. My name is Hannah Hogue, and I'm a program manager at the Alliance for a Healthier South Carolina. On today's scorecard tutorial video, we are going to be covering adding context to your containers and your measures, and adding context to your main scorecard, as well as rearranging the different containers that are displayed in your scorecard. So under all of your objects, you will see that there are different questions laid out. So under results, you'll see why is it important laid out. Under indicator, the questions will be story behind the curve, partners, what works, and strategy. Under programs, you will have what we do, who we serve, and how we impact. And then under performance measures, you will see story behind the curve, partners, what works, and your action plan. So I'm going to go through what you would include and how you would edit these things. So to edit any of your context buttons, you'll simply click into whatever object you want to edit and then press edit in the top right of your screen. Here you'll see the questions that you can fill out. You'll click this little pencil icon and you can add in your contextual information. So for a result, the question, why is it important, is fairly straightforward, but here you just want to give a brief description on why the selected result is important to you, to your organization, and to your community. Always click Save. And once you are finished, you can go back to your main scorecard. For your indicator, you'll be answering the 4 contextual questions seen here. Again, you'll open up your indicator by clicking on it, select Edit. As you come down here to the right, you will see your 4 different notes boxes. So in the story behind the curve, you are going to put in information that answers the question, what are the causes and forces behind these conditions? So thinking through directly what your indicator is and exploring what are those positive and negative factors, what's going on in your service area or in your population of interest that is causing your data to look this way. Next, you have partners, and under there, you're going to look at who are the partners that have a role to play in doing better. So who are the folks that you need at the table to make change in your data? What works? Under what works, you are going to ask yourself what works to do better. So you can include turning the story behind the curve points into action, EBIs, partner resources, and low and no cost ideas. So exploring all the things that could work to turn your data to look better or to be better. And then finally, we have strategy. So in strategy, you're going to include what you plan to do in the coming year or years, and narrowing that what works list down to what you can actually do. What do you actually have the resources to implement? Again, before you leave, you always need to make sure you select Save. Under programs, the questions asked are going to be what we do, who we serve, and how we impact. Under what we do, you're going to give a brief description of the program or strategy and the various components. Under who we serve, you're going to give a brief description of your client population, who is utilizing your program, and who is the intended recipient or audience. And then under how we impact, you're going to explain the qualitative and quantitative concepts around the program and how you measure and achieve success. Again, if someone is looking at your scorecard who is not familiar with your programming or the work that you do, we want them to have a full snapshot of all of the work that is occurring in that program. And then under performance measure, very similar to your indicator, you're going to see story behind the curve, partners, what works, and then action plan. And again, that story behind the curve is going to be what are the causes and forces at work behind these conditions. Partners are going to be those who are partnering with you to turn the curve, or who are those who are working on this performance measure. Under what works, you are going to include, again, a list of strategies that you could employ to change your data in a better direction or trend your data in a better direction. And then your action plan is, of those strategies, what are you actually planning to implement in the coming year or years? What do you actually have the resources to implement? So that is a little overview of the context. Now, for your scorecard as a whole, there are also some more edits you can make. If you select Edit on your main scorecard page, what you'll see is another edit button. And then what you'll see is here, you can add a description to your scorecard. So if you were a coalition, you could add some information around and about your coalition. You can upload logos in this space or documents, whatever you feel makes your scorecard seem more complete. And again, when an outsider is viewing your scorecard, something that helps them understand you and your organization. Also on this page, if we scroll down, you will see that all of your containers are laid here. So one thing when you connect a program or performance measure or result, any sort of container to your scorecard, they might not be ordered how you want them to. So to move your containers around, again, you can't move your indicators and performance measures into another box per se, but you can move them to be ordered where they're nestled in differently. So if you want to move your containers, you simply click these 6 square boxes, and you can move them around on your screen as you see fit. The other thing you can do on this screen is add a divider. So if you were a coalition and you had priority areas, you could add a divider. Really, your divider can be anything you want. So we could label this program. You can do this however you want. You can also change the color of the divider. And then finally, do not forget, wherever you are in Scorecard, to make sure you're selecting the Save button before you exit, or your work will not be saved. So we're going to hit the Save button. And then when we go back out to our main Scorecard view, you will see that we now have a divider on our screen. And that is it for adding context.